Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And that I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to recruit you, and I running back coach didn't take you biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. The Martin Houston Show fan page can be found simulcast on Tide 109 on Facebook, Martin Houston Live on Facebook and YouTube, and at Martin Houston 35 on Twitter. Also simulcasting on X's and O's Sports. You can find us in all those locations. And, of course, you always can download the app, take us with you wherever you go, the Tide 109 app, and log in if you're at your computer at work or at home at tide109.com. It's a beautiful Thursday morning, still kind of lingering from Monday's game. It seems like the national championship game was many moons ago, but it was only a couple moons ago. That Alabama came up short in the national championship game, 33-18. And of course, that last touchdown seems like it was a far more, far bigger blowout than what it really was. But we're going to dig deeper into that conversation. We'll look at takeaways from the game. We also, as we're transitioning to basketball season, I'm going to tell you, 3 weeks ago, month ago, man, I was like, yeah, baby, we're going to be playing for a national title in football. Then we're going to be in the hunt for one in basketball. Well, we got to look at some things. What does this Bama team need to do to be ready to go? We'll have recruiting with Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting, and we got a lot to get to. So remember this: trust in the Lord, and remember that this is a day that He has made, and you can go out and rejoice and be glad in it. You need to take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. So glad that you've chosen to join us. We got X's and O's, Xavier Houston, co-hosting with me again today. How you doing, X?
Doing good. How are you doing this morning?
Doing well. So, well, hey, let's hit a couple miscellaneous topics before we get into the specifics. Is Oregon slowly becoming Alabama West? Could Oregon present some difficulties for Alabama? Not necessarily this year, but Alabama has once again, Nick Saban's coaching tree has expanded. We talked about Coach Jay Valad going to Oklahoma as the co-defensive coordinator. So that's kind of the Midwest. And then you go up to Oregon, and I don't know if people realize this. Lanning, who is the coach who left Georgia, actually spent time in Tuscaloosa before there. And now Tosh Lapoy is back as defensive coordinator. And analyst Jake Long has left, and he's actually headed out to the as an inside linebackers coach to Oregon. So at least 3 guys out there. And the question is, I don't know if Bobby Williams or whatever, he was out there. So once again, Mario Cristobal leaves. And so now you got competition in Miami. Now he's replaced with another Nick Saban guy out in California. And then, of course, Tosh Lupoi. We know Tosh Lupoi was one of those key guys that helped us recruit the West Coast. And when you start naming, there's some guys that jump off the page, none more than Bryce Young, that we've been able to pull from the West Coast that we're not going to have to compete for. So Oregon presents a new problem, X.
Yeah,
new challenge, not problem, challenge.
I feel like they've been a problem or a challenge because they had Cristobal. Cristobal, of course, is a former Bama coach. So now you're dealing with him in Miami, as you said, and then just replacing him with another very talented and young coach in Lanning. And Lanning's adding guys who were very successfully recruiting at Alabama to his staff. So, I mean, it'll be more of a fight. But at the end of the day, Saban is still the top dog. He's still the godfather of college football.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that as many different you keep saying eventually these other schools in him having to compete against his own system is going to catch up with him. And there just doesn't seem to be any slowdown in his ability to recruit because his process is able to be repeated and duplicated. So we'll see that. And just a real quick sidebar story, kind of funny in terms of recruiting and a head-to-head battle. I heard that there's a player out there talking about there's a stigma on Bama and education from the Crimson Tide, and he I think he was trying to say that there's a stigma for the jocks that leave Tuscaloosa when Nick Saban putting out more graduates than anybody else.
Yeah, Kayvon Thibodeau, of course, the guy that is in competition with Evan Neal to potentially be the number 1 pick in this year's upcoming draft. They were a part of the same class. Kayvon chose Oregon over Alabama. He was bashing Alabama and the education system, West Coast to the South. And then he was talking about the college level of education. And he misspoke a little bit while talking about the stigma of football players being a young jock. He might want to go back and work on their education a little bit because the astigmatism is a problem with your eye. but the kicker is what he went to college for, which is marketing and PR, is where Alabama actually ranks number 1 in the country.
Yeah, and I got my degree in marketing from UA. It's been a pretty good education. So, and Nick Saban and the Alabama football players putting out players on a regular. So that's funny. A couple other miscellaneous topics before we get into some specifics around football and basketball. 4 more guys leaving Alabama. A lot of them are guys you may or may not know, but 4 more guys, another legacy guy heading into the portal. Braxton Barker, son of Jay Barker, hitting the transfer portal, and you can't blame the young man. Definitely an opportunity hopefully awaits him at a school where he can play out his. I think he may have 2 years left. It's so hard to keep up with everything with the with the COVID year. But at least I think he's a grad transfer as well. Yes. Clark Griffin, DB, Colin Bryant, tight end, and another quarterback, Stone Holland back, all leaving the Alabama Crimson Tide. And, you see that that's the 3rd quarterback to leave, and you may not think that much of it, but walk-ons are critical to the process and how college football players do and go and do and stuff like that. So numbers matter, but I also think some of this, and we'll ask Hank when he comes on, is Nick Saban, some of this, him thinning out. These guys are walk-ons, but there's some of those scholarship guys, he may be thinning out roster and doing some roster management.
Yeah, Nick Saban, excuse me, is known for doing it to a certain degree. You never want to see some of the high-end guys leave, but it's never hurt Alabama in the past in the long run. You look at guys that have left and had success other places, Alvin Kamara, Jalen Hurts, and others. It's never really hurt Alabama to this point. So it's just a part. It's a part of it. Guys want to get on the field. Guys want to play, and it wouldn't surprise me to see a guy like Braxton end up potentially at a UAB where his little brother is playing at as well, and potentially play and go there, play well.
I would agree with that. Also, from a standpoint of who's leaving and who's not, I still think the two guys that you wonder if they will have an impact on next season, Drew Sanders being one, as he injury or not, he was starter at one point for 4 games, and then he was the second guy who rotated between Dallas Turner and Will Anderson. He played both of those positions. So he'll be missed because you have to replace him. You don't have to replace him with a starter, but you still have to replace him on the depth chart. And then, of course, Billingsley was a starter. And so you have to replace him as well. And most of the time, Nick Saban and transfers and transfer portals, and because it's different transfers, grad transfer, transfer portal, 2 different things. I think Jalen Hurts probably the biggest grad transfer we've had leave, and then Billingsley could potentially be biggest grad transfer. Transfer portal guy. But Nick Saban has hit a home run, I think, so far with Jameson Williams in the transfer portal. He could end up getting 3 All-Americans, 4 really, because Toa, if he comes back, which I think he will, and Jameson Williams All-American this year, and then Eli Ricks and Jamar Gibbs all could end up being All-American. So
and Landon Dickerson was an All-American.
That's right.
Last year.
Yeah, and he was a grad transfer. I was talking about in the portal.
Oh, in the portal.
Yeah. So that's going to be interesting to see how that all works out. Hey, let's go ahead. You have anything miscellaneous you want to add before we get to takeaways from not takeaways. 5 things Bama Hoop needs to talk about and work on next.
No, I think we've covered everything that's kind of going on the outside out of what the main focus is.
All right. Coming back on the other side, we'll continue to talk Bama sports. This is the Martin Houston Show with X's and O's, Xavier Houston. The sound of Bama sports, your show, your team, right here on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, everything pretty quiet as we begin our Thursday. No delays. If you do see conditions throughout the morning, folks need to hear about, just give me a call, 205-886-8886. Come on in to Townsend Nissan for a great selection, low finance rates, and get top dollar for your trade. I'm Captain Ray.
Weather brought to you by Fincher & Osmond. Fincher & Osmond carries artisan-created diamonds, and trust us, they are bigger than you expect. Visit www.fincherandosmond.com. Whether you're tailgating on the quad or gathering with family and friends to watch the Bama game, let Robertson's Barbecue do the cooking for you. Their tailgate specials include 2 pounds of BBQ or 2 chickens, quart of beans, slaw, potato salad, buns, sauce, and a 2-liter drink for $44.99 plus tax. Or get a whole Boston butt with buns, sauce, quart of beans, potato salad, slaw, and a 2-liter drink for $54.99 plus tax. For catering, call Renee Robertson at Robertson's Barbecue, 205-361-6800. 888-342-9806.
Hey, Bama fans, before you head to the stadium to watch the Tide roll, stop by JD's Market and Spirits for all your tailgating needs for Bama football games. Located only 3 blocks from the stadium, JD's offers over 500 liquor items, 400 wine items, and a huge selection of craft, domestic, and imported beers. JD's also has hot dogs, snacks, ice, and game day supplies. Everything you need for tailgating. JD's Market and Spirits, 400 yards from Bryant-Denny Stadium on the west side. Call 722-2113. Hey, Tide fans, when you get hungry on Bama game days, head to 43 Prime. They have 15 TVs to watch the games on. While you're watching the games, have one of 43 Prime's mouth-watering steaks, surf and turf, a 12-ounce New York strip with 6 shrimp, seafood, burgers, wings, and chicken fingers. It's so good. You can also get it to go by calling 331-5800. 43 Prime says roll Tide, making steaks great again. On Highway 43 North in Northport, in front of Winn-Dixie. 43 Prime.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A nice warm up today. The sky partly to mostly sunny. Tuscaloosa's high 59. Clear tonight with the low at 35. For tomorrow, sunny with a high at 58. Saturday, rain will likely move in by afternoon. The high Saturday at 60. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 37 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Sophomart Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at sophmartdesign.com.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9. It is time for us to continue the conversation. We got X's and O's, Xavier Houston joining us as he does each and every week. Curtis Lewis saying we won't miss Sanders. He was not beating out Dallas. And we have Alexander along with Kyotis, who is already there much better. Chris Allen hired an agent for the same reason. I didn't say we would necessarily miss Drew Sanders. I think Drew Sanders has great potential, but I also think Nick Saban recruits at a high level. The interesting part is if Drew Sanders doesn't get hurt, Dallas Turner is a freshman waiting his turn and possibly even in the portal. Let's just be real.
Yes.
I mean,
if Drew doesn't get hurt, we might be losing Dallas
instead of Drew. Right. That's what I'm saying. Now, Drew.
I mean, let's not act like Drew Sanders was the number one athlete
in the country. Yes,
coming out of high school.
Yeah.
He is a talented kid whose talent will be missed, but he might not have ever been a starter. But he was a great rotational and situational guy.
I think the guy's good enough to play. Now, that like I said, at Alabama, you replace guys. That's just like you replaced all of the quarterbacks. Look at the progressive improvement at quarterback at Alabama. You could technically say we didn't miss Jalen Hurts, we didn't miss Tua Tagovailoa, we didn't miss Mac Jones. I mean, we didn't miss those guys. They don't make those guys.
You can do that to every quarterback. We didn't miss Coker. We didn't miss Sid. We didn't miss McCarron. We didn't miss McElroy.
And that's because Nick Saban recruits at a high level. So in one sense, I do agree with Curtis. We won't necessarily miss Drew Sanders because we're going to replace Drew Sanders. I'm not so sure. That's why I keep saying Billingsley may be the guy that we miss. But let's go because I don't know if we replace tight ends the same way we replace outside linebackers and quarterbacks and running backs. That has not necessarily been our history. That I feel confident with. But let's go to Tom. Tom, thanks for your patience. You're in with the Martin Houston with X's and O's. Xavier Houston, what's on your mind, sir?
Hey, good morning, Mark. Good morning, Xavier. How are y'all this morning?
Good, doing good.
Great. Martin and Xavier, do you know that there is 1.38 billion people in the country of India? And did you know that 800 million of those people live in extreme poverty?
I didn't know the exact numbers, but I knew it was a lot.
Yeah.
800 million people in that country live in extreme poverty. And do you know that those people are exploited by companies that sell sneakers and clothing items and so forth and so on? And they're exploited in this way right here. These companies move in on a population like that because they have a heathen type belief system, and so you know that Satan is wide open over there and suppressing those people in their poverty, and these companies from this country go over there and support those people to make these items, and they bring those goods into this country, sell them at an extreme profit. And do you know the wages of the people over there, children and women and so forth? You know what their pay is? It's $1.90 a day. $1.90 a day. So the young man that got his education at Oregon really thinks Nike is such a great organization. I got news for you, son. You know, your education has not benefited you on a fact of humanity. And you're blowing about Nike being such a great company. Let me give you a clue. They're slave taskmasters. And the only reason they ran Kaepernick out there and gave him a bunch of money is they were trying to cover their own sin in other parts of the world. That's all they were doing. They could care less about his beliefs. They could care less about what his activism is, and he could care less as long as he gets a check. And but you have stepped into a pile of it, young man, and I hope that this brings attention to this so-called greatest company in the world that you said, and their antics of exploiting children and women at $1.90 a day.
Tom does not have any love lost for the Nike company, and of course, if you wonder why he's bringing that up, is Thibodeau, outside linebacker, defensive end for Oregon, tried to slight the University of Alabama in the South from a standpoint of their ability to produce good education. And Tom saying that the team that helping out there is taking advantage of. So do it now.
Do you see my point?
Oh, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. I was just saying that he definitely
and he used Nike as a huge talking point to say, oh, I know once I'm done playing, I can go get a job there. What's Saban doing for these guys at Bama? What do they have somewhere to work once they're done playing?
Oh, Nike will hire Evan Neal. Yeah, I mean, you don't have Nike.
Mark, can you wear that around as a badge of honor with everything that goes on with that company?
Well, I mean, no, I wasn't saying it from a. His point was weak though, because he made it sound like Nike only hires former Oregon athletes. He was using that as a talking point. I'm just saying, I wasn't making a point about badge of honor or not. He just, once again,
anybody with a degree that fits that field can go there from any college.
Yeah, but I was asking you, would you can you wear that as a badge of honor and things like that? I mean, I think it's horrible what these computer companies and what people, companies like Nike do that go over and exploit those people and pay them little to nothing when they're already starving to death. I mean,
Yes.
Can anybody feel good about stuff like that?
Tom, if you start digging, you're gonna probably find that in most of the stuff that we wear, do, and participate in this country. So
Exactly.
I don't know that you wear it as a badge of honor. Unfortunately, it is what it is, though. Unfortunately.
See ya.
All right, thanks, Tom. So, hey, listen, Curtis Lewis, I had mentioned about uh, the situation with Drew Sanders and Dallas Turner, saying that I don't doubt that Dallas Turner would have played this year, but once again, I don't know whether Dallas Turner would have left or not. But I think had Drew Sanders not got hurt, I do not see Drew Sanders because of the way Saban works. I mean, I'm not saying that Dallas Turner. That's one of my takeaways from the Georgia game. That Dallas Turner is next man up in terms of elite defensive players. So I will not argue. This is not X about Dallas Turner from a talent standpoint, but with way Nick Saban rolls, if a guy gets out there, very seldom do you see a guy get benched that wins a starting job for Alabama.
You don't see it. If a guy's and if he's performing,
right,
which Drew Sanders was performing at a high level,
right,
those guys don't lose their job,
right. And that's what I'm saying. And so I think now, if you ask me who's the most talented, I mean, you may have to say that if Dallas Turner projected down the stretch the same way Will Anderson did. The only question I have is how much did Dallas Turner benefit from the fact that he had Will Anderson on the other side? Team schemed away from him. Dallas Turner is a talent in and of himself, but he also reached All-American status, not just because of Dallas Turner's talent. Dallas Turner would be a good freshman player if there was no Will Anderson. He became a great player, period, because of Will Anderson. That's my only thought there. But that was one of my key takeaways. Next year, you have to look at this and go, oh my God, Alabama, if these two guys stay healthy, we may feel for the old school hands, the day of the Copeland and Curry bookends, just a different style of players. Will we have that type of scenario for the first time in a long time? And we can't get into all that conversation because we got to go to. But so that's just, I'm gonna just leave that out there as a hanging chad because we got to get to recruiting. But think about that for a second. One of my takeaways was, oh my God, Dallas Turner is an elite player, and
is only a sophomore this fall,
and will be and Will Anderson. Both of them have to come back, and they both were playing at All-American levels by the end of the season. And so, look out, quarterbacks. Will those two together next year set the record for the most partner combo sack totals? We saw what Aiden Hutchinson did at Michigan when he had a guy on the other side that was a feared pass rusher. Okay, Will Anderson will have that combo next year where you will not run. You may run away from Will Anderson, but you ain't gonna run far. So it's gonna be interesting. I'll let you close it, and then we'll get to recruiting, and we'll talk more about the takeaways as we move throughout the all season.
Yeah, no, I mean, you look at those two guys and the potential that they have at a younger age than the two guys from Michigan, but that could be a scary combo. We've had close things to this, Ryan Anderson, Tim Williams, but to have two guys that are as feared as pass rushers, you have to go back to y'all's playing days, the 92 team. But you're talking about two guys between them that had, 26 sacks this year? You're talking about that number easily could get into the 30s, no questions asked.
Yeah, without a doubt. I look at it from a standpoint of Alabama, and those two guys will clearly have the potential to be in that conversation with the Copeland and Curry as the bookends 2.0. I'm already starting it in the offseason. Bookends 2.0. They may have to come up with their own name, but for now they're Bookends 2.0. I can't wait to see it. Talking about recruiting, Bama recruits at a high level. So when the transfer portal opens up, Bama's already prepared. We'll talk about what they're doing to take advantage of potential opportunities and players in the portal. We'll talk about that up next with Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, everything pretty quiet as we begin our Thursday morning. No wrecks and no delays. If you do see conditions throughout the morning folks need to hear about, just give me a call, 205-886-8886. Come on into Townsend Nissan for a great selection, low finance rates, and get top dollar for your trade. I'm Captain Ray.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard right next door to Alabama 1, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team.
Jackson Hewitt needs you to know 3 things about filing taxes this year. 1, there are thousands of dollars worth of new tax credits on the table. 2, you have to file for them to make sure you get the right amount. 3, a Jackson Hewitt Tax Pro will help track down every credit you deserve. Tax credits for being a parent, taking care of a parent, going to school, and so much more. You don't want to miss out on thousands. Jackson Hewitt knows that. Discover thousands in tax credits and get your biggest refund guaranteed. Learn more at jacksonhewitt.com.
Nick Saban calls it the process. John Maxwell said that everything rises and falls on it. And Coach Wooden said, it's what you learn after you think you know it all that makes the difference. What am I talking about? Leadership and personal development. Is your organization, your school, your church, your family, are they receiving the proper level of leadership development and personal development? If not, the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring can help you with that. We have our pep talks, which is a 1 to 1.5 hour lunch and learn, which we can customize to meet your needs, or we have some topics that we present that we know can help your organization. And if you're looking for one-on-one mentoring and coaching, we can also assist you with that. Visit peptalks35.com. That's peptalks35.com, or send an email to martin@martinhouston.org. That's the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. We got Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting, joining us. Thanks to the great folks at Alabama 1, alabama1.org. You need to go there and check out their current promotion, alabama1.org, and you will be able to find 2 great promotions to help you come out of the Christmas season. Slow down your interest rates. Whether it's credit card interest rates, you can do the 0 balance transfer, 0 annual fees, and no interest for the first 6 months, then rates from 7.99 to 17.99 after that. Cashback rewards, or you can reduce the impact of interest rates once again with an Alabama One HELOC special offer. Rates as low as prime minus 0.25 or as low as 3.0. Local servicing, no origination fee or closing costs, up to 100% financing. So slow down your interest rates and the impact that the holidays had on you and debt is having on you. Get a HELOC or a balance transfer. That's at Alabama One. You can get all the details and even apply right there online at alabama1.org. All right, let's get back to the phone lines with our guest, Hank South 247 Sports. Good morning, Hank. How you doing, sir?
Hey, good morning, Martin. I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, sir. Well, man, it's football season is over. Normally, we would transition wide open, 100% into recruiting, but this season seems a little different. Have you heard anything from the recruiting trails that may have been impacted by the turnout or the results of the Alabama game?
Yeah, no, I don't think that the Monday night's result is going to have any impact, on Alabama's recruiting effort. The one game, especially in a game that was so close and, back and forth, for the majority of it, recruits aren't going to ding Alabama for that. So, I would expect things to return to, business as usual. I think, the Alabama staff, they were focused on the game ahead of it. Obviously recruiting is always happening, but that was the main focus. And then they're circling back and kind of regathering and getting ready for the to close out the 2022 class and really start pushing for that 2023 group as well, especially in state. So if anything, I think Bama's performance this season helped with recruiting.
Absolutely. So it's Nick Saban does it yet again. Since the top of the recruiting world, but this year it's a little different as we look at the numbers and transfer portal and all that stuff. I guess my first question to you, Hank, is where does Bama kind of sit from this class numbers? Are there any spots? And from an overall scholarship standpoint, does Bama need to make room based on the guys they've brought in, traditional and non-traditional ways?
Yeah, I think I think Bama's lost a few spots open. I think every program probably did that after the early signing period with, how much the transfer portals impacted things. I think they're, obviously keeping an eye on it. I know on our message board on Bama Online, every time a kid enters his name into the portal the last few days, it's, is Bama interested? It's like, well, I think Bama's just now finding out he's in the portal as well. So, it's like, give him a second to make the contact and, if they end up being interested. So, we'll see. I think it's a balancing act of, who's entering the portal, who are you losing? Where could you see, where do you need an impact guy potentially next season? I know tight end is a spot that, might be something Bama looks at. Just that's in my opinion. I'm not saying I've heard of anybody they're talking to yet, but, you see Jaleel Skinner sign with Miami instead of with Bama. We saw Billingsley enter the portal earlier this week. So, maybe that's a spot Bama looks at. Wide receiver obviously could be another spot, depending on who's in the portal. So I think it's just kind of, who's in it, could they fit in here? And it's not just something that's going to happen, right now. We saw Jameson Williams and Henry To'oTo'o join the team after spring practice last year. So it's not anything that, has to happen ahead of signing day. I think Bama is still looking at high school kids as well. I reported on Bama Online yesterday, a high school tight end named Danny Lewis, who was committed to Cincinnati. He decommitted from Cincinnati yesterday. He got an LSU offer. He got a Florida offer. He may end up visiting Alabama. There's been some discussion there. So that's a high school name maybe to watch. Then as far as overall scholarships, obviously, Bama has to cut down a little bit. I think they were over a good amount. We saw a handful of guys enter the portal on Tuesday. So, could that keep happening? Yeah, obviously there's going to have to be roommates to fit into that 85. So, I don't know the exact number right now, but Bama always makes it work. So I wouldn't be too good, man.
How you doing this morning, Hank?
Hey, I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing good. So you're talking about the portal and potentially a tight end being a fix there. Do you also think that Bama might look as far as linemen in the portal? Because we don't have that next man up really at the tackle spot that we're used to, because we're losing Chris Owens. We're losing Evan Neal most likely to the draft, even though he hasn't officially declared yet. And we saw Damian George struggle, but we didn't see any other guys outside of him play this year really at the tackle position. So is that a potential transfer portal need?
Yeah, I think that's another area you could circle if you're looking at, potential fit, who's there, who they think could, step in and help out. You only signed, three guys in high school. There were some freshman kids that, did some good things this season. We saw Latham step in a big moment and fill in for EQ or guard, but obviously, that tackle's a different spot. So yeah, I could certainly see that being, if there's a guy they see, fitting what they want to do, that could be a fit. But again, it falls under, who's in the portal and kind of, how would they mesh with Alabama?
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
And as far as quarterback position, losing Paul Tyson, he was the second most experienced guy as far as being here at Alabama, and you now have Bryce with Jalen Milroe who played very little, and true freshman Ty Simpson coming in. Is potentially an older veteran quarterback that maybe from a lower level portal look.
Yeah, I mean, potentially, we've seen Bama do that before. Obviously, I guess it's 4 years ago now, the offseason, after Tua stepped into the national championship game, they added Gardner Minshew on the transfer as a grad transfer back when, it was still, just out a year, unless you were a grad transfer. He was committed for a while, but obviously flipped to Washington State. It's tough now, I think, in this era. I think everybody, if you're in the portal especially as a quarterback, you're looking for somewhere you can go immediately play. I don't think there's a guy in the portal that wants to come and sit behind, Bryce for a year. I think unless they have, multiple years of eligibility left. So I mean, never say never. I don't think that's a huge need. I think, Miller's gotten some good experience in the program so far. Simpson will obviously be there this semester to kind of get some experience under his belt. So you'll have three really talented guys on the roster. So maybe, but I don't think it's an immediate need.
Speaking with Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama online recruiting guru. Hank, any early words on I shouldn't say 2022, 2023 guys and interest? I know there's not any commitments yet that I'm aware of, but any early action from the Crimson Tide on that side?
Yeah, I think it's really going to get going here in the next few weeks, starting not this weekend, but next weekend, the 22nd. I'm not sure if this is actually what's being titled, but I've talked to a couple of recruiters that said they're coming in on Saturday for what's called Built by Bama Day. And I think it's going to be kind of a visitors weekend geared towards the in-state recruits, considering the class is so loaded. So, guys like Peter Woods, Tony Mitchell, the top tier recruits in the state of Alabama, looks like they're, gearing up to be on campus. Being on campus next weekend for that 22nd, and then on the 29th, I think there's another junior day where, we'll see other big time targets maybe from out of state, and obviously in state as well, visit Alabama for that, pre-signing day, junior day we usually see happen. But, I think Bama, kind of just going down the list, it's just a loaded class of guys, like I just mentioned. Tony Mitchell, James Smith, Peter Woods, Quay Rousseau, Kelby Collins, all these guys, you can fill up about half your class with just in-state kids, if not more. So, I think Bama's going to be in a good position for a lot of those guys. And then, there are no commitments yet, but one name that's gearing up to make a decision on January 22nd, so that next Saturday, is Jaleel Hurley, the 5-star cornerback from Florence. He's going to announce a decision. And, I think, he's named Bama his leader for about, the last 9 months. So, will that hold true to next Saturday? I think it will, but, we'll see. He could be, but I think, that Jaleel Hurley, 5-star cornerback from Florence, Alabama, could end up being the first commitment in the class, unless, of course, somebody commits before him.
Yeah, that would be a huge get for Coach. They've been getting an in-state kid and a 5-star kid and a DB. That kind of would set the tone for the cornerstone for a great class. Hey, switching gears real quick, we briefly mentioned basketball last week. Talk a little bit more about Kate Phillips and any other in-state guys. We had actually a caller, a listener ask, is there not more guys that Alabama could be recruiting in state from a basketball standpoint? And I know last week we had mentioned Phillips.
Yeah, that's really the only name that surfaced so far in terms of 2023 recruiting for basketball. He's been having a really good junior season so far for his high school. Sorry, I'm pulling up player rankings on the phone. And let me see. State of Alabama. But yeah, I think he's the only one with the offer in the state of Alabama. He's the only ranked recruit in the state of Alabama we have in our database. That's kind of wild. But
oh wow.
Yeah, no, maybe somebody else emerges, and obviously, the transfer portal could end up being something that becomes more prevalent in college basketball recruiting as well. We've seen Bama, we've seen Nate Oates recruit everything, high school, junior college, transfer portal, all that. So, it's still early. We'll see, what this staff ends up doing. But, Kate Phillips is a big name. They have some big targets, Jacoby Walter, the 5-star or the high 4-star shooting guard from Texas, Isaiah Collier. So they've got some big time names they're after in the 2023 class.
And I forget with the way basketball does it, they're already. I mean, he's already signed this year's senior class, so we're talking about the year after when we start talking about what's left for Nate Oates and Bama hoops. But any update or anything going on the recruiting trail that you want to share with our listeners?
No, yeah, I mean, I think, we're just kind of wait-and-see mode as far as, who Bama's going to press for down this stretch before the early signing period, or not, the regular signing period, National Signing Day. Bama's class is pretty much full. I think it's kind of more just any extra guys, whether it be the transfer portal or potentially any late high school guys they push for. So, it's not anything that we, 5 years ago, right now is the busiest time of the year with recruiting, but right now kind of just, who are they who else is gonna, they're gonna go after. So that, got the visitors weekend coming up with underclassmen, and then obviously, we'll get into the spring with spring practices starting, and then should be a normal year with, the visit calendar. So good time to hop on board on BamaOnline.com.
All right. That's Hank South, 247 Sports, BamaOnline.com, 247 Sports recruiting guru. Follow at Hank South 247. Best follow in recruiting. Thanks, Hank. We'll catch up with you next week.
Yes, sir. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Going back on the other side, we'll put the finishing touches on this edition of the Martin Houston Show. Had a question about that tackle, Xavier, based off of what you said. I have a potential thought on how Alabama could potentially initially try to build out this offensive line. We'll start talking early into the offseason about how Bama replaces left tackle Evan Neal and others on that offensive line. That conversation and more coming up next.
100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no wrecks on this Thursday morning. Traffic moving pretty well. Steady on McFarland eastbound coming into Northport and on 2059 between Tuscaloosa and Birmingham. If you see other conditions, give us a call. Come on into Townsend Nissan for a great selection, low finance rates, and get top dollar for your trade. I'm Captain Ray.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Thursday morning, 4 people have been charged in the murder of Bevan Sterling and his fiancée, Shalandria Gray Chambers, in Hale County back in November. Their bodies were found near a vacant home in Sawyerville. 2 of those arrested were charged with hindering prosecution and were released on bond earlier this week. The other 2 are 16-year-olds who face capital murder charges. No bond has been set for them. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage. It's free. Download the app. I'm Don Hartley.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about Tuscaloosa Custom Carving. If you're looking for a way to add value to your home, make your flower beds pop, make your landscaping stand out from your neighbors, then Tuscaloosa Custom Carving can help you do just that. They have numerous styles, but they feature the Moroccan Stone Curve series, which includes 4 great styles of color choices. That's Tuscaloosa Custom Carving. They are the one that can help you stand out from your neighbors. Tuscaloosa Custom Carving, 205-331-6823. You may also find yourself with the need for a custom size stone or custom shaped stone. Then Tuscaloosa Custom Carving can help with that as well. Paul Fuller and his team are waiting on your call right now for that free quote. And if you tell them that Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show told you to stop by, you'll get a big discount. So call Tuscaloosa Custom Carving at 205-331-6823 or visit them online at Tuscaloosa Custom Carving, LLC.
If you are tired of searching the grocery store for meat you can trust, you need ButcherBox. They're a subscription service that delivers humanely sourced meat and sustainably sourced seafood right to your door. ButcherBox sources their products from partners with the highest standards for quality, which means you can stop combing the grocery aisles and start getting 100% grass-fed beef, free-range organic chicken, humanely raised pork, and even wild-caught seafood delivered to your doorstep. With ButcherBox, you can select a box that has everything you want, all in one place. For a limited time, ButcherBox is offering new members a great deal for the new year. Sign up at butcherbox.com/radio or call us at 1-800-BUTCHER. This deal includes ground beef, chicken thighs, and pork butt. That's more than 7 pounds of meat added to your first box for free. Get the New Year's bundle before it's gone by going to 1-800-BUTCHER to sign up.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. Alabama One Insurance. Alabama One Insurance, your one source for all your insurance needs. Review, reduce, and ride. That is, we'll review your policies, reduce your rates, and you can ride knowing that you are properly insured. And relax. I said ride, but relax knowing that you're properly insured, regardless of whether it's auto, home, life, or any other ancillary items that you need insured. That's Alabama One Insurance, your one source for all your insurance needs. AlabamaOneInsurance.com or 205-342-0112. All right, X. We had a question about recruiting. You asked about offensive line portal. That's what I said they may go into. But if there's no portal, how does Nick Saban restructure this offensive line? All right, candidates. You have Latham. You have you have George. You have the Brockermeyer brothers. You have Amari Kite, who came in
2019.
But he came in instead of George coming in. He came in when Owens got hurt in the semifinals. So that was an interesting move there. And then you have, of course, a guy who started this year that you have to throw into the mix, Dalcourt. So I'm gonna give you my first thoughts on the offensive line components. Javion Cohen, McLaughlin, Ekiyor. 3 starters back. Then the battle is Latham, Brockemeyer, and I'm going to put Dalcourt in that conversation. And here's the question. People, hold on. People asked the question about, Virgil asked, what about Brockemeyer? Here's what I heard on Brockemeyer. Arms aren't real long, but that's not the problem. The problem is he bends at his waist a lot, so that's what they're having to work on. Go back and watch when Will Anderson would rush a guy. If that guy leaned forward, Will would just pull him past him. Yep. And it's balance. So that was one of the things that they were working on with Brockemeyer. If they get that fixed, he's a guy I think that immediately jumps into that conversation. But here's what I think could potentially happen. Don't be surprised if Cohen doesn't move to left tackle. The guy is good. Think about how many.
He was a tackle coming out.
Right. But did we ever even mention his name this year? He was so good. Do you even remember anybody talk? No, never talked about him getting beat a lot. The only time he ever got messed up was when there seemed to be a communication issue. Cohen, Ekiyor, don't be surprised if Dalcourt doesn't get tried out at left guard. And then Latham and Brockemeyer battle for that right tackle.
I can see it.
I
can see it.
I'm just saying that's a potential starting 5. Cohen, Dalcourt, McLaughlin, Ekiyor, Latham, and or Brockemeyer. Now, don't be surprised though if those 2 guys don't battle for that tackle position as well. Closing, I'll give you the closing thoughts.
Great show, great content, of course, as always fun. Check out for my X's and O's podcast that will be releasing tomorrow or Saturday about the wrap up of the Alabama season. And then at the beginning of next week, I am actually going to be interviewing you and getting your take on Alabama football and life after football. So I'm excited.
Sounds good. I'll be a guest on X's and O's podcast dropping next week. One dropping this week, tomorrow or Friday. X's and O's Sports, xandOsports.com is on Facebook. I'm Martin Houston. Remember this, trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding, all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Roll Tide and have a blessed day, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center.